Welcome to the Sobriety Diaries, friends. My name is Nate. I am a grateful recovering alcoholic and sober coach. My addiction has shaped the person I am today and given me the ability and voice to help others, and I simply wouldn't be here without it. Recovery is possible. The Sobriety Diaries is a video podcast where we share powerful stories of recovery told by those who live them. Head on over to thesobrietydiaries.com where you can apply to be a guest on the show and join our insiders list for exclusive content, early release episodes, and much more. Also, please share this podcast with just one person in your life who may still be struggling. You just never know what they may need to hear today. Also, before we jump into things today, I wanted to take a minute to thank Exact Nature for sponsoring today's show. Founded by a father and son in addiction recovery, Exact Nature's all-natural CBD products are specifically formulated to help you face the challenges of recovery, be it anxiety, cravings, or even improving sleep. I absolutely love the Serenity Oil, and Exact Nature has even helped me kick the nicotine habit, which I am happy to say now I am over 2 months nicotine free. As a listener of the Sobriety Diaries, use the code TSD20 at exactnature.com for 20% off of your order. Again, use the code TSD20 at checkout. Happy Sober Day, friends. Thank you so much for downloading today's episode and spending part of your day with me here on the Sobriety Diaries. Today is such a treat. We are chatting with one of my favorite people on the internet and in real life. She has an enormous TikTok following and even a bigger heart. She is so open with her story of recovery, with over 150,000 followers, and she's not shy and not scared to be open and honest with her addiction, and in turn hopes to help folks that still may be struggling. So we share that same vision, and when I asked her to be on the show, it was a very quick yes. So I'm excited for you to hear my chat today. Let's open the diary on Abbie Jean. Abbie Jean, thanks so much for spending time with me on the Sobriety Diaries today. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you. How are you?
I am great. We just were informed that today is National New Best Friends Day. So I guess we're going to have to honor it, right?
Yeah, it's our day now.
It's our day.
New besties.
We're just going to ride it out from here on out.
I love it.
Where are you zooming in from today?
I am zooming in from Naples, Florida. I moved here 5 years ago from Vermont.
Okay.
I'm from Vermont originally.
So you're with the elderly folks with lots of money.
Yes, that is exactly where, if you look at the map of Florida, there's a little circle that says elderly, wealthy people. That's where I am.
So you beelined right down south.
Totally. I was like, I love old people. I'm going to go there.
Oh, too funny. Get yourself in somebody's will.
Yeah, I try all the time.
So when was your last drink, and why was it that day in particular?
My last drink was December 5th of 2018. I actually didn't know it was going to be my last, but the next day, in my fragile hungover state, was I call it my Santa moment. It was my Santa moment. I'll explain that in a minute, but
yeah.
Someone came into where I worked, and it was someone I had known, and they were my same age, and they stated out loud in a very casual way that they were an alcoholic. And I was like, what? You can just say that very comfortably like that? And it was like finding out Santa was real. And I was like, that's real. You can do that. You can have that. And so December 6th, 2018 is my sobriety date.
That's powerful. I love that story. And we're coming up
Yeah.
here on 3 years.
Yeah.
How
I'm
exciting.
excited.
Awesome. Well, let's start with the story of how we got to that day in December 3 years ago.
So I always kind of skip through high school and college because I truly do think in those times in my life, I hadn't started drinking alcoholically yet. I think in college I would have been considered a party girl for sure. You know, any reason to go out any night of the week, I was there for it.
Yeah.
But my alcoholism really set in my early 20s. I had moved, so I had a college boyfriend. We did 1 year long distance, so I lived by myself for a year in an apartment in New York, and then we moved together to Rhode Island, where I started working in the restaurant industry. And the restaurant industry was so fun for me because, you work all the shifts and then you leave with all this money, and then right after work, everybody's ready to party.
Yes.
And so I loved that. We have all this cash and we're going to all these cool bars, and everybody was partying kind of at the same level. And then there was a time, probably around where I was 23, where people started slowing down, and a lot of people started going home after the shifts, and I just found myself gravitating to those people that would still go out and party all night long. And I did. I partied all night long, every night, Monday, Tuesday, it didn't matter. I remember one day I was hungover and we went out day drinking, and the first sip of alcohol while hungover, and I immediately felt better. And I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great. This is great. And we partied all night long. And I woke up the next day, and it was just this vicious cycle of, I just was constantly hungover. And then I had found this magical way to not be hungover anymore, which is more alcohol.
Keep on drinking.
Keep on drinking.
Yeah,
and and I think there was a point where I had some friends that were older than me, some friends that were my same age, and then a couple, we're all kind of in that mid chunk of our 20s.
Yeah.
I started not taking care of my responsibilities as an adult who had an apartment and a boyfriend, and I had dogs, and the alcohol just still made me not care. I just thought, well, I'm having so much fun. I'm only 23. I'm only 24. That's not a grown-up. I don't have to be a grown-up.
Right. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I slowly started partying so much that I wasn't going back home to my boyfriend and my dogs. And I think it was because I was a little bit ashamed. I wasn't paying my side of the bills, and I was literally just spending all my money on partying. And it kind of came to a head when some of my friends contacted my mom, who lived here in Florida. And they just said, we're really worried about Abbie Jean. She's partying a lot. And I didn't know that this happened at the time, but then it was my 25th birthday, July 11th of 2015. My father drove from his house in Vermont to my apartment where I was living, but not really anymore. And he picked me up, and he just said, I don't think things here are really working well for you, which I had known. I had actually stopped paying our electric bill, and our lights in the apartment had been shut off. And I got in the car and he drove me to Vermont. And then the next day I flew to Florida. But, being the convincing alcoholic that I am,
Oh, yes.
I got off the airplane and my mom saw Abbie Jean. There was nothing, I didn't look different. I still was unaware of the phone call. That night she told me, she said, your friends are really worried about you. And I just said, well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. They're out with me. I'm fine. And she was like, well, there we have it, folks. She's fine.
She's fine. Did you think you were
And
fine though? Or had you
no,
started, you knew
no.
at this point?
Yeah, I knew. It's interesting because I knew it hadn't even got half as bad as it did.
Yeah. But
I knew that, you shouldn't be spending all your money on alcohol and doing nothing but partying and drinking. I mean, if the event or the party or the what have you didn't have alcohol, there is no way I wanted to go.
Not going.
No, so boring.
Right.
So, once I got to Florida, I got a job in town and worked there a couple times a week, but I didn't really have any friends in Florida. I was living with my mom.
Yeah, right.
So I started going out and trying to meet people, and I made a couple of friends here and there. And then it was not long after I moved here, I remember I woke up one morning and my whole body started to shake. And it's, when people think of shaking, they think of like external shaking, but I could feel my insides shaking. And I had this wave of pain going over my brain. And it was really scary. And my mom needed me to write out a check for her business. And I remember picking up the pen and I couldn't bring the pen down to the checkbook because my hands were shaking so bad. So I tried to, brace myself. I tried to hold my hand with my other hand and I couldn't fill out the check. And I was so scared, but also just mortified because I don't think I fully understood what was happening. And for whatever reason, my brain and my body told me, well, you just need to have another drink and then this will go away. So I found myself in the kitchen with a kitchen glass, and I filled the glass with wine and I chugged the whole thing. And a couple minutes went by and I didn't feel drunk. I didn't feel hungover. I felt normal, like I had equalized. And I was like, oh, well, perfect. All right. And then I went throughout the day, and that started my cycle of drinking in the morning to feel better, which is a place that you never expect to be. And when it happens, it's so terrifying that it creates a really scary downward spiral, which I got very caught up in.
I remember specifically the day that I started drinking in the morning, and it was the same thing, just to feel normal, just to be able to get out of bed to do anything. And it was this, your shame intensifies because of all the things you've done up until that point. That people don't drink alcohol in the morning.
Yes.
And I remember the day very specifically, and I got to the point too where it was just to equalize, just to barely function.
Yeah. And I think because I I hear a lot of people with this similar story of mine too, where like we would hide alcohol. And I think that's where it came from for me was like, well, I can drink at brunch openly, I can drink at dinner openly, but it's not okay to drink at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
So I have to have it's the madness. I always have to have it in the house. I always have to have it in a place where I know where it is. I always have to have enough, and it has to be really good hiding places,
Yeah. Yes.
which I did for a long time. And when I started dating my current honey, uh, in the beginning of a relationship, you go out and you go to bars and you're having fun and you're doing all these things. So I think I was able to kind of hide it from him for a while, um, until I couldn't anymore. I remember one day he came home from work for lunch, and he normally didn't do that. And he kissed me, and he just looked at me and he said, "You've been drinking." He didn't ask, "Have you been drinking?" He stated,
Yeah.
"You've been drinking." And I said, "No, I haven't." My whole thing was, I've only had a Red Bull, because in my head, Red Bull smells like alcohol, which it
Got it.
doesn't.
Interesting. I've never heard
Yeah,
that.
I I think I made it up.
I think you did too.
But I was like, "No, I just had a Red Bull." And the way he looked at me, I was like, "Oh no, he knows this is, here we go."
Yeah.
And we continued to go out, and everything was kind of okay. But I started drinking at the job that I had. I would keep it hidden in my purse, in my car, all these places. And I was drinking all day, every day, enough to keep feeling okay, enough to keep feeling okay. And on December 6th of 2017, the dates are hilariously lined up perfectly.
One year
I
prior?
1 year prior to the day, December 6th of 2017, I came home from work, and my mom said, um, "Enough is enough. I've found a bed for you at a detox center." And I kind of, threw my little, "I don't know what you're talking about" fit, and "This is crazy, and you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that." And she just said, "We're enough. Get in the car. We're going." So I went to the detox center, and she had taken my cell phone, so I didn't get to call honey or anything.
Mm.
And we drove there, and I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know much about detox, but I went in. They breathalyzed me twice, because the first time it came back, she didn't think it was accurate. And I looked at the nurse and I was like, "What's the problem?" And she
Yeah.
was like, "I don't understand how you're talking and sitting." And so they were not comfortable admitting me for obvious reasons.
Wow.
So they brought me to the hospital, where they gave me a banana bag. I fell asleep. They just want you to sober up to a more safe level.
Yeah.
Um, when they brought me back, they like did a full body strip search. So, and then you go in, and they medically detox you. They keep an eye on your blood pressure, your heart rate, all these things. And the first night, I remember thinking, because they drop the temperature like way down,
Mm.
way down. It's freezing in these rooms. And I remember my first night, I'm in detox. I didn't want to be there. And I still just thought, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
This is so silly. I'm just a party girl. This is crazy. And so I started on my medication, and then you start going to um, like little therapy stuff. And there was people from Alcoholics Anonymous there. And it was interesting because there was 16 of us the first night, and I remember being the only person there who was there just for alcohol.
Mm.
Everyone else was there for meth or cocaine or heroin or what have you. And all eyes were on me. All the nurses were constantly checking in on me. And I was like, what did I do to, and they were like, well, alcohol is one of the substances that you can die from detoxing. We have to keep an eye on you. Your body is detoxing from something very serious. And I remember getting I was scared. I was afraid at hearing that, but I kept thinking, I'm gonna do this little program that they have set up for me here, and then I'll be like good as new, and I'll probably be sober for a little bit. I'll make sure everybody understands I'm fine,
Right.
and then, you know,
Drink
off to
like
the
a
races
lady.
again. Yeah, I'm gonna drink like a little lady.
Right.
And I talk about one of the last nights in rehab, standing in the bathroom, and they like buzz you in
Mm.
to the bathroom, and you can go and like shower. They give you a little thing of shampoo, a little thing of conditioner, and like a razor with like one blade. I
Oh,
remember thinking, the last thing I want to do right now is shave my legs.
right. Right.
Like, this is so silly. So I took my shower, and I remember like the towel was like this really scratchy material. It was like not big enough, and I was still freezing cold. And I was kind of, getting things together. I had cleaned my ears, and I had all these, and I looked up in the mirror, and there was somebody looking back at me, and I couldn't recognize her. And I had like kind of a little breakdown, and I opened the door to the bathroom, and I yelled for one of the nurses. And I said, there's someone in the mirror looking back at me, and I don't know who it is. And she came in, and she tried to calm me down, and she was like, you're just having like a moment. You're going to be fine. That is in fact you looking back at you. And I remember looking her, and I said, no, it's not. That's not me. She said, yes, it is, Abbie Jean, get dressed. Everything's going to be fine. And I just laid in bed that night, and I cried and cried and cried, because I knew it was me, but I didn't recognize her anymore. And I was so sad for her and confused. And I just couldn't believe that it had come to this. I couldn't believe it. So when I finished Detox, me and one other girl were the only two people who made it.
That stuck it out.
That stuck it out our 7 days. And then they literally you just go back to your life.
Mm-hmm.
And of course they said, here are some options for you. They offered 30-day, 90-day, or year treatment, but I didn't think I needed that.
Yeah.
So I went back to my normal life, and that night, Honey and I went for a walk on the pier, and we kind of discussed what life was going to look like. And I reassured him everything was going to be fine. I'm just going to drink normally. Maybe in a couple months, I just need to let my body heal and rest.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fine. Everything's going to be great. I was sober for about 3 months, and then it was just a random middle of the day, and I drove my 14-minute and 17-second drive to get my 2 for $12 Yosemite white wines.
Yeah.
And there I was, back in the middle of the day, drinking by myself. And then, of course, it does what it does, and it goes from 0 to 100. real quick.
Real quick. Was there anything leading up to it? Like, were you planning it, or was it just one day you woke up and opened your eyes and decided?
Well, I mean, now that I look back on it, I did zero work. I did zero I didn't try to figure out why I was drinking the way I was drinking. So I just, continued to see everybody else around me drinking quote unquote normally. And I was like, this is just so boring.
Yeah.
I'm so bored. And so I just remember thinking, it's going to be fine. How can it possibly get worse than Detox? What?
Right.
So and it was crazy because I remember the first like couple sips. I mean, I was not a wine glass user.
Mm-mm.
I was just directly out of the bottle.
Yeah.
Why make dishes? Seems
Right.
like a lot.
Right. That you have to wash.
So I was, yeah. And I actually, I had a nickname while I was in Rhode Island. I was called Chirpy Jean, chirpy, like a bird.
Yeah.
Because when I would chug the wine, it would make this like little bird whispering, like.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Chirpy Jean.
Chirpy Jean.
And I remember hearing that noise again, like the bottle went up and the wine went in. And I was so excited. And then immediately I was covered head to toe in hives. Like my body was like, no. Oh. And I was like, yes. And so my mom came home from work and she took one look at me and she was like, oh my God, you're drinking again. And I convinced her that it was going to be fine. Covered in hives. I was like, it's going to be fine. I'm just going to drink like a lady.
Yeah.
And it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And immediately it wasn't. Immediately I was drinking all day, every day for another 9 months. And then my Santa moment happened when I was at work and someone of my same age openly told me that they were an alcoholic and that they were struggling. And immediately in that moment, I was like, that's the drug that I want. I want that freedom. I want to be able to say that and be okay with saying that and be healthy and well. And the next day was December 6th of 2018 when I started attending Alcoholics Anonymous.
Hi friends, Abbie, Jean, and I had such a great conversation that part 2 will air next week. So stay tuned for next Wednesday for the conclusion with my chat with Abbie Jean. Thanks so much for listening today, friends. Make sure you check the show notes for all the information that we discussed in today's episode. Hopefully you heard something that resonates with you, and if we help just one person, our job is done. You can find all things podcast related and subscribe to our show at thesobrietydiaries.com, youtube.com/Nate Kelly, where we upload today's video podcast, and on Instagram at the Sobriety Diaries Pod. Check back soon for new episodes with new stories to tell. But until then, try your best not to drink and be good to yourself. Bye, friends.